for the second Sunday of a three-part series, Dr. Joe Dispenza's Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, How to Lose Your Mind and Create a New One. And it's so true what you reminded us, Dee Dee, is that everything must change. Have you heard of that change is the only thing that's constant? And if not, then here's an invitation to contemplate that for a little bit. So I'm excited to be here with you for the second Sunday of the two-part series, and you can see the information up here for what we talked about last week, and in the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. You can order online or purchase the book in person or through Audible or Kindle and follow with us. And as Jerome mentioned before, we do have our Zoom online book discussion and reading to get into the juicy bits and details on Thursdays from 7 to 9 o'clock, so you can register in the back or online at Unity, and it's on a love offering basis. Today we'll be getting into your brain and meditation and the gap. So that's the exciting part about today. The third part is the implementation part, because Dr. Joe has implemented this stuff in his life, and many people, thousands of people around the world have implemented it in their lives, and it's proven results showing that the work works, and people have had results from healing, abundance, love, a myriad of different things where they previously thought that that was not possible in all possibilities. But the thing is that it's a unique, applicable repetition, tool, and technique that you can actually apply that demystifies God and the meditation process, and you get into a space where you can envision through mental rehearsal and become that in your mind before the event is made manifest. And it's pretty powerful. And maybe some of you in your minds are right now like, wait, how is that happening? But that brings us back to Unity principle number 3. And thoughts held in our mind create our reality and produce after their kind. That's how this whole Unity movement, as a reminder, was formed through the co-founders, Charles and Myrtle. She healed herself of tuberculosis, and he grew his leg, and it started in their kitchen. So through that law of mind action and connecting with infinite possibilities in the quantum field and aligning and quieting your mind, all things are possible. So here's an interesting quote that I found from Dr. Joe that I thought was fascinating, that really resonated with today, and it's about the meditating. And meditating is a means for you to move beyond your analytical mind so that you can access your subconscious mind. That's crucial, since the subconscious is where all your bad habits and behaviors that you want to change reside. And a little recap from last week: we are more energy than we are matter. We are more wave than we are particle. We are 99.999% the same energy that's in the quantum field, that is the stars, that is the animals, that is nature, that is everything that is. And we are more that than we are this physical flesh body and being. And I know sometimes it's hard to remember that this energy that creates worlds is powerful because it's orchestrating everything that we don't have to think of. The stars, the trees, your heart beating, you breathing. And it's beautiful. It's an innate intelligence that orchestrates everything and is aware of each and every one of us, loving us, wanting those things for us, and holding that expanded version of us there. So Dr. Joe talks about the thought sends out the signal, the intention, and having a clear intention and getting your state of mind and state of being in a coherent place from your heart center into your brain, then through your feelings and your emotions, you draw that possibility from the quantum field back. Law of attraction, law of mind action. Because all possibilities, through the unique electromagnetic signature that is the you that you think is you, that is emitting energetically and vibrationally of what you want, genius, abundance, love, relationships, whatever it is, it exists out there. And the thing is that 5% of our mind is a conscious mind. And between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is our analytical mind. And 95% of our mind is subconscious. So by the time we're 35, the majority of us is practice habits, patterns, and behaviors that are automatic. Think of how you get in the car, and you don't have to really figure out how to get here when we got here today, or through practice and repetition and rehearsal, you can see what I'm speaking about and what Dr. Joe does in his work in a little different element of how the beautiful creativity flows through our musicians. It's the practice, it's the repetition, from finding out information and then philosophizing about it and then becoming masters. And it's very graceful and grateful. So we remember this, and we remember that we're very powerful. And to really change and understand that there is this power we can tap into, what is involved is going into the subconscious mind and selectively suggesting new behaviors and new thoughts and opening you up to possibility and choosing to sit and practice and mentally rehearsing. And that's the simplistic tool from where we can sit and apply these tools and techniques to bring back to us from the quantum reality or the quantum field as the image and likeness of God, as the extension of source energy, and really tune into, tap into, allow that to flow through us. Because Dr. Joe reminds us that if you're sitting down for meditation or you're doing the same things, showing up in the same energy, the same way, and you sit down and do the stuff and you don't show up different, then nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. And maybe what comes through your mind, and I know a lot of times through my mind, I react with those 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. It's like, well, I don't really want to do anything different, or I have a good life, or it's okay. But then the question really comes up to my mind, and I get curious, and I think, wow, I wonder what it really would be like to allow infinite intelligence and quantum field, that leverage of that to arrange something to really surprise and delight me. Have you heard of synchronicities or cooperative incidents or cooperative components? And you can get playful with this and put it out there and then watch what happens. And it's through that state of mind and state of being, the non-resistant you, that you get to see. And you want to know how literally that stuff happens? Like that. It's just practice and repetition and moving forward and remembering that these tools and these techniques you can replicate them and you can receive results from them, from anything that you want. And then the most exciting part is having the fun and getting curious and really being playful and choosing to sit down and open up and practice and focus. So the first part of the second part is the three brains, and the thinking brain, the doing brain, and then the being brain. So we have one brain physically, but if you can take it apart and look at it from three different ways, we have the neocortex, which is the thinking brain. That's like the walnut-like structure on the outside. And then we have the midbrain, which is the second brain, and that's responsible for creating and maintaining all of the chemicals in the body. And then the third brain is the cerebellum. That's like back here, your skull. That's the subconscious stuff, the 95 stuff. So when we quiet our mind in prayer and meditation and through repetition, it's possible to go from thinking to being and utilizing that leverage. How? We become no body, no time, no thing, and we practice not identifying ourselves as this body, the environment around us, and how we think we have to show up as our identity that's defined by our relationships of people or the outside environment. And it's through repetition and practice. There's two different groups of people. One group of people practiced the piano on a daily basis. They were learning new songs, they learned new information. That's one of the key elements to this. And then they received instruction from the instructor. Practice every day for an hour, okay? And then after that, they were paying attention to what they were doing and how they were feeling, and they were utilizing the information, practicing, and through repetition, they learned the new song. So there was two sets of people. The one set of people that actually did it, and then there was another set of people, the ones who mentally rehearsed it. And in the two different sets of people, the same neural networks in the brain were firing and wiring, and the brain was changing the same way. So, if you can mentally rehearse a future version through closing your eyes and deliberately creating and tapping into this, instead of reacting mostly, why would you not want to do that? And then allowing that energy to be released and allow that greater mind and intelligence to orchestrate events to surprise and delight you. So this is how we can eliminate a little bit more of the middle part of the doing aspect of the creative process and move from the thinking and the mental rehearsal and the repetition, changing our state of mind and being, changing our brainwave coherence, changing our heart coherence, elevating those emotions, that electronic signature, the electromagnetic signature we're broadcasting, and drawing these beautiful events back to us. And it's pretty powerful because there's a lot of people creating a lot of things differently. Think of it as there's nothing right or wrong. It's through the metacognition, us as human beings have a very powerful tool. It's called awareness. We can become aware of what we don't want. And a lot of times, something simple as, I don't want to get frustrated that much anymore. Or I don't want to be irritated as much anymore. Or I don't want to be late anymore, so maybe when I set my alarm at this time and it rings for 30 minutes and I get up late and rush to work, I can set my alarm 10 minutes earlier and choose to be in the state of mind and being to appreciate and then consciously be aware of choosing new patterns, new behaviors, and new ways of being and open up. However, I suggest this meditation practice and this implementation. I've been praying and meditating with Unity for over 10 years. I've been involved with these teachings of Joe Dispenza for over 8 years. And I have to be honest with you, because that's the only way that I can be. But when I first received this book, I looked at it and I said, I'm sitting here meditating for that amount of time. Honestly, I wish I would have. I wish I would have. From the thousands of testimonials that are available all over the world from what people are doing, it's extremely humbling. And why not live now and tap into that? Tap into that mind, that God mind, and allow it to work through you more. So then there's the gap that we move into in the book here. I'm not sure what I just did there. The gap is supposed to be next. Is that on there? Oh, thank you, Tim. I don't know what I pushed. Practicing technology would be a good thing for me because these things happen often. Laughing at yourself is good as well. So then the book discusses the gap, and Dr. Joe talks about the gap in his life. He was featured in the movie What the Bleep, and he was out lecturing and talking about the first book that he wrote, and he was out publicly speaking. He was being a chiropractor and applying these tools and techniques in his life. And then he was sitting on the couch one day looking out the window, and he was feeling drained and frustrated. And he thought to himself, is this who I really am? Am I the people I see all the time when I'm speaking publicly or at my practice? Am I all these cities that I travel to, sometimes 2 in a 3-day period of time? Am I my family? Am I all these external things that are out there? Not saying that everything is a bad thing, but there's a huge realization, a lot of times we call this the midlife crisis, where we actually are aware of who we're being and how we're being defined by, and seeing, am I really wholeheartedly feeling appreciative and love and connectedness in this moment, and aware and open and curious? And he had an epiphany, and this is where he talks about the gap. Is in the book you'll see is his hand is up here and he's looking out the window and he sees this, and this is how I'm appearing to be on the outer world, but I'm sitting on the couch down here looking out going, I'm feeling tired and I'm not feeling good and I'm feeling drained, and who I'm showing up as the outer world is not who I really am. And so then he begins to ask himself, who am I? And this is where we start to be contemplative in our lives. Who am I? What is God? What really matters to me in my life? What does real change mean? Can I be the me that I'm meant to be, that authentic God extension of love and life and power in the world, and show up that way as my foundation, being important and not using somebody, some place, or the conditions of the world to throw me off in my life? And through the practice of these meditations and through the consistency of them, you can begin to have a solid foundation. And it's not about getting somewhere. It's about practicing so you show up a little more in your power. And then through the practice and repetition, where somebody would be annoying, like your neighbor's cat meowing all night long mating, or maybe the other one painting their fence bright pink with zebra stripes, you don't use those things as your excuse, and you're like, okay, I'm going to tune in, tap in, and if I have an argument at work and someone yells at me, because we live with other people in the world, right? So these things happen. Maybe I'll just say, that's them, this is me, you're good, I'm good, we're good, and then I can move forward. And that's where I get to liberate my energy in the form of emotions, and therefore narrow the gap between how I appear to be in the world and who I really am. Ultimately, this creates transparency. When how you appear is who you are truly free. I've had this in my life with experience as of lately, because this is the 5th time I've been reading this book and this material. Every time I go back in and read it, it just resonates with me powerfully different. And I'm finding that with whatever information I'm presented with in my life, whether it's something bad or horrible, a death in the family or an argument or whatever, is there something even good? There is such a gift in that moment. I may not be aware when I'm in those negative emotions or reactive emotions of the gift, and that's probably not the time with that momentum to be contemplative about it, because you're there in that and you can't and let it go through. But I really believe that every moment of everything that is attracted to me, through me creating my own reality, and everything is working out for the good, that it's happening the way it is supposed to. So moving through this gap is an interesting process, and I mentioned a little bit ago that I'm now reading the book for the 5th time, and so I've been choosing things that are important in my life. So that means a lot of times removing myself from reacting from certain people that are not in my energetic commitments. So the other day, I had a friend of mine who I spoke to on the phone, and she says, Bryan, welcome back to reality. And I said to her, well, I don't know what reality you've been living in, because I've always been living in my reality. But that's a very interesting thing to look at and question and be contemplative about from a non-attachment perspective is, do I show up every day based upon how people need me to show up so that they feel comfortable? Or do they respect my authentic self? Do I respect their authentic self? And can you say when someone says that to you, I'm doing this for me, and it doesn't mean that I don't love you any differently. It's a very powerful thing to look at and contemplate through our powerful awareness as human beings, and that we have that metacognition and that ability. It's a very powerful tool. So then the last part of this, and what we'll be moving into, is the applicable part of the book, is the meditation with the series that you, the CDs or the MP3s that you can get. You can purchase them and get them shipped to you, or you can download them. And that's the practice and implementation of part 3 of this book. But the meditation process is so powerful because this is where you begin to align your heart center and heart coherence and your brain and brain coherence. So where we're at mostly during the day is that we are in beta brainwaves. We're in analytical brainwaves, and they're very quick brainwaves, and that's the thinking brain from when we're awake, and that's the integration of our sensory world, our touch, our talking, our interaction with other people. And then when you close your eyes and you eliminate your external world, then your brainwaves begin to slow down and you get into alpha brainwaves. When your body falls asleep and your mind is awake, that's when we begin to enter into the theta brainwaves. And that's where you have moving into delta brainwaves, or the restorative brainwaves. And then there's the gamma brainwaves, which is when you're moving into real communication with the super consciousness, and you're in tune to your body, firing and wiring, opening up, connecting to that potential, and not using your outer reality and things as stimulus even more. So the purpose of all of the meditation and the purpose of all of the science and everything is to really show you that you can go and move beyond the analytical mind, and you can create and draw back to you through opening up to infinite potential. I utilized this process recently to manifest my new home. And I tuned into one of these meditations, and I put the thought out there, new home. I had a conversation with my husband, Nick. What's important for you? What do you want? We talked over periods of time about that, wrote it down, and then I went into the meditation, and I got my state of mind and state of being in an elevated state, and taking what was important with him and from him and me, and seeing ourselves and feeling the excitement and the emotions of being in an open kitchen, having a big dining room table that's there where 6 people can sit at, and experiencing those things and closing my eyes and then surrendering it to a greater mind. There's numerous details involved in purchasing a home. Through the qualification purchase, we were able to afford a lot less than I thought, because I'm not a salaried employee. And it's okay, we moved forward, we looked at what was out there, even though it wasn't what we wanted. Then all of a sudden, I saw this house in the MLS one day, and I looked at it, drove by, and they were building a new construction home next door, and all the construction workers were at the house, and there's caution tape everywhere, and then next door was a big dump. And I said, this is really interesting, I'm drawn to go look in here. I went inside the house, I looked at it, it had the open kitchen, there was all this furniture still in there, the big dining room table was there, and then all of a sudden I called Nick, I'm like, I gotta come get you, we have to look at this house. He came and looked at it, and I started to worry a little bit. I said, we're not gonna be able to afford this with what we're approved for. Called up my mom, she talked to somebody that we knew, and we asked for if private financing was available, and it was. We're excited, opened up, whereas somebody normal would look at that as a problem with the caution tape and the construction next door and all these things here and that other place there, but I looked at it as an opportunity. And I felt this was where the quantum field, or God, infinite intelligence, was aligning this up through my path and our path of most allowance with the cooperative components of everyone involved. Went there, submitted the offer written Friday at 12 o'clock. Friday at 12:30, we had a verbal agreement. Was under contract, went through inspections, got a credit of $26,000 for a new roof and electrical, and it was effortless and easy, moved forward to close, and it's our new and beautiful home. This is available to each and every one of us. I invite you to get curious. Sign up. This information is so rich. It's there for us right here and right now to create our own reality. So join us on Thursdays at 7 o'clock from 7 to 9 online. As we mentioned before, there's a sign-up sheet in the back where you can go online. And then there's one last quote here from Dr. Joe that I thought was awesome and I wanted to share with you. The quantum field is an invisible energy, a field of energy and information that exists beyond space and time. Nothing physical or material exists there. It's beyond anything you can perceive with your senses. This unified field of energy and information is what governs the laws of nature. Thank you. Have a beautiful Sunday.